Wonderful afternoon. We will go ahead and get started today with Phil Montgomery from the Executive's Office of Finance and Budget for a financial update to Council.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Phil Montgomery from the Executive's Department of Finance and Budget. I wanted to get in front of Council to provide an update as to the general fund after the first quarter. As we move into this year, we want to make sure that we do these updates quarterly. So this won't be the full in-depth finance update that I typically give to Council later in the year, just because we only have 3 months of actuals in front of us. So when I come back for the Q2 update, I will have my update to the 5-year forecast that I start in April. After April month end is when I start doing the 5-year forecast and updating it every month. So when I come back for Q2, I will have that full packet available for Council. So I sent out this afternoon the general fund monthly revenue report. So on the right side of, the left side of the numbers is March of 25 versus March of 26. And then in the middle is year to date through first quarter of 25 and year to date through first quarter of 26. And then off to the right, you'll see our original budget for revenue and kind of where we are in the realization of that budget. So you'll notice there are a couple numbers highlighted in the report. I'll talk about those. The first one being our county sales tax. At the end of 2025, we received about $1 million in sales tax from the sales tax holiday in August. So that came in December. The timing of where we were in year-end close, that $1 million didn't post until January. So there's an extra $1 million in the 26 number. So I highlight it just because it's a one-off timing situation. And at the bottom of the report, I factor that out because that really isn't a 26 performance number. Going through, casino tax is up just a little more than 2%, and property transfer tax is up almost 3%. And we'll continue to keep an eye on that number as Feds play with the interest rate and people refinance again, and kind of where we are in the real estate market. Going down into our intergovernmentals, the only thing really of note is our local government fund portion from the state is up almost 6.8%. Hopefully that will continue to trend in that direction. The next section is our charges for services or fees. The Akron jail fee is highlighted because that $1.2 million, you can see in March of last year versus this year, we hadn't received a payment yet from Akron. That $1.2 million is actually the Q4 payment. So that was received in December, but it was another one, the timing of it, it didn't post until January. So that is actually a number that should have resided in 2025. So I'll factor that out in the bottom total. Clerk of courts is up just over 1% versus last year. The recorder and treasurer fees are, those align with real estate. We'll see those come through. Our first half tax settlements will be coming in April. So these numbers will shift as we move into the Q2 numbers. Going down further, deposit investment income for the treasurer, so 470010. This is our interest earnings. And as I mentioned to Council when I gave the 2025 year-end review, I did factor a 15% reduction in investment earnings. And so far we're holding stronger than that. So we are down 4.8%, but I had factored 15%. So it's still performing a little bit better than what I budgeted. So I'd rather be conservative on that. So that is trending where we need it to be right at the moment. Going down into the next section, our all other revenue section. So our indirect cost reimbursements, that's a timing. And again, those reimbursements are from actual expenditures 2 years ago. So that number is going to fluctuate just based on what those expenditures were. In the last section for non-operating, the other highlighted number is other refund. In that number, we got about $400,000 from the Sheriff's Department for the CPT, and that's their training that they're required to do through OPATA and the different law enforcement things. We actually got reimbursed for that. So that's a one-time a number that I factored out. So all in all, real numbers, what hit the books. We finished the first quarter with $35.3 million versus $30.3 million last year. So a 16.6% increase year over year. But in the next line that you see below the totals, there are less advances in. So if you look three numbers above that, line 499901 advances in. That's the money that we transfer to other funds that are negative at the end of the year to make them positive, and then we collect that money back in the first quarter, so it repays the general fund. So that $1,029,000 that you see on that line item for year-to-date 26, that was really just a repayment of general fund that we fronted other funds in December. So that's kind of not a real income number. It's just something we're getting back. So I factor that out. And then the last line on the second page, you'll see the less December sales tax, the Akron jail bed, and that miscellaneous CPT refund. So in actual activity in 2026, we're looking at $32.6 million in actual 26 activity versus 30.3, so an increase of 7.71% year over year. So things are trending in the right direction. Again, sales tax, property tax, conveyance transfer tax, those are the ones that are more prone to fluctuation and we'll keep an eye on. The other thing worth noting in here, we did, when the next report comes in, we'll look at, and we'll get into Q3, I'm sorry, not the next report. In Q3, we did change our arrangement with Akron in terms of the jail bed and how they're paying for animal control. So you're gonna see a new line item come in Q3 where Akron's reimbursing us for some of the costs at animal control. That'll start, the activity started in January of this year, the payments will start in July of this year. So that'll be a new line item that you see come through there, and those will start to balance each other out. So we're keeping an eye on everything. Like I said, I'll do the more in-depth 5-year forecast in the next review and bring that to council after Q2 closes. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate that. Does anyone have any questions for Phil? No questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
With that, we will open the Personnel Committee at 4:37. We have two items on the agenda today. First one being 2026-109, a resolution approving the new classification specification, and salary schedule for the non-bargaining classified position of medical laboratory technologist, number 71021, and revising the county's 2026 staffing report to include said position for the medical examiner and the Executive's Department of Human Resources. Emergency. Mr. Klepper.
Good afternoon, Chip Klepper, Director of the Executive Superiore's Department of Human Resources. Dr. Kohler and her team came to request a new position that does not necessarily fit within any of our already established classifications. She's a little special, Dr. Kohler. So she requested this position. I'll let her tell you about it. But just for the sake of the record, the Human Resource Commission did approve this position late last month. After reviewing writing, we determined this to be it's a Category 3, Grade 5 position. We did look at some comps. This is a kind of a unique position, as I said, so it was difficult. But we did find something similar with Akron Children's Hospital. They have a role similar to this, and we are comparable to what that role is. So with that, I'll let Dr. Kohler tell you about the position.
Okay, thank you. I'm Dr. Kohler from the Medical Examiner's Office under the Executive. So as we continue to look at our succession planning, one of the areas that we need to look at is the toxicology lab. We currently have a toxicologist who is looking towards retirement in 27. We've already compressed our lab down to a point where we're doing a lot of screening and then very limited confirmation of the drugs, limiting that to fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine. Everything else is sent out to a national laboratory for confirmation. As we move forward past my current toxicologist, we'll be having primarily a screening lab where we will do the screenings, and then that person will communicate with the national laboratory to get the types of confirmations done that we need. Also, with Ramon retiring a little over a year ago, the histology lab was discontinued, and we are currently sending those samples off to Children's Hospital to be turned into microscopic glass slides for us, and that has been absorbed in the toxicology lab. So this lab technologist would be someone who is doing all of our drug screens for our cases. They would be doing our carbon monoxide testing, they would be doing our alcohols, and they would also be in charge of getting the slides off to Children's for histology, and they would be communicating with the laboratory to make sure we're getting the proper tests run on the samples and communicating with the physicians about what those results were. And because there's really not a comparable position in the state, this is how we believe it should evolve into, and we'll carry forward with our succession planning. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Dr. Kohler. Any questions from committee? Councilman Wilhite.
Dr. Kohler, do you have the physical space that you need for this person, or will you?
Yes,
have to do?
yes, they would go into the current toxicology lab and carry out their functions there. Yeah.
Any other questions from committee, from council? May I have a motion? I have a motion from Councilman Wilhite. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next, we have 2026-110, a resolution approving the promotion and salary adjustment for classified non-bargaining employee Marla Gordon for the sheriff and declaring an emergency.
Good afternoon. I'm Kimberly Martin, Director of Administration for HR for the Sheriff's Department. This position, we promoted Ms. Gordon. We'd like to promote her from a account clerk to administrative specialist. She would have supervisory positions helping our current Director of Administration at the jail now, jail registrars, inmate services, and the records department. The wage is $26.28. We have people on staff that she would be supervising that is making that. So we're just asking a little bit more. Not quite the midpoint. The midpoint is 34, but just a little bit more than what the starting would be. So we're just asking for $30 an hour to get her started, just because she will have a great deal of responsibility and supervisory position to the director. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions from committee? Any questions from council? I have a motion from Councilman Donofrio. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. And with that, I will close Personnel Committee at 4:42.
I will open Public Works at 4:42. We're going to go out of order tonight. We're going to begin with 2026-115, and then we'll move on to 2026-116 for Mr. Vinay. So 2026-115, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a construction contract with Carvo Companies, Inc. for Project Q165-1, Akron-Cleveland Road Sanitary Sewer Extension located in Boston Township in Council District 1 in an amount not to exceed $2,325,000 for the Executive's Department of Sanitary Sewer Services and declaring emergency. Mr. Vinay.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for amending the agenda. I appreciate that. Michael Vinay, Executive's Department of Sanitary Sewer Services. This is the last phase of a long-standing project in Boston Township. It included portions of Cuyahoga Falls with the Seasons Road pump station and sanitary sewer extension. Now we are extending the sewer up Akron-Cleveland Road for business retention and expansion opportunities. If you know that corridor well, it's grown since we put the sanitary sewer in on Seasons Road. We expect that growth to continue. So this is the actual sewer project itself. Obviously, the city of Cuyahoga Falls put a water line up the same corridor 2 years ago, so now the corridor will have both water and sewer. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from members of the committee? Members of council? May I have a motion? Mr. Schmidt moved on 2026-115. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. On to 2026-116, a resolution authorizing the executive to enter into a cooperative funding intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Lakemore for the rehabilitation of sanitary sewer lines as part of the Lakemore Infrastructure Improvements Project located in the Village of Lakemore in Council District 8 in an amount not to exceed $321,705 for the Executive's Department of Sanitary Sewer Services and declaring an emergency. Mr. Vinay.
Thank you. The Village of Lakemore actually has their own sanitary sewer system. They are currently under findings and orders from the Ohio EPA regarding that system. So part of their improvement plan for those orders is to line their sanitary sewers. We have sewers in Springfield Township that abut Lakemore's sewers, and those sewers need lined as well. So this project is going to join up with Lakemore, and we are going to line our sewers that we own in Springfield Township. Happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Renee, does this help with the work that they're trying to do to help the lake there in Springfield? It helps with the runoff?
Yes, so one of the issues with the HABs in Springfield Lake is created by sanitary sewer overflows. That's a contributing factor. So by tightening up our system, reducing inflow and infiltration, that will definitely reduce the number of sanitary sewer overflows.
Great, thank you. Any questions from members of the committee? Members of council? May I have a motion? Christine, you did. Ms. Hyam moved on 2026-116. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, we will go back to 2026-111, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a construction contract with Perrin Asphalt and Concrete for the 2026 Summit County Regional Concrete Pavement Repair Program in an amount not to exceed $593,719 for the engineer and declaring an emergency. Ms.
Thank
Swindell.
you. Heidi Swindell, Summit County Engineers Office. The county actually has no money in this one. We just run this contract as a regional program so they can, other communities can join on. It's Bath, Copley, Sagamore, Springfield, and Twinsburg Township. And we received 3 bids, and Perrin Asphalt out of Akron was the lowest. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from members of the committee? Members of council? May I have a motion? Ms. Darrow moved on 2026-111. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next up is 2026-112, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a construction contract with Protect-A-Coat, Inc. for the 2026 Summit County Regional Crack Sealing Program in an amount not to exceed $162,031.14 for the engineer and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Another regional pavement maintenance contract. This is for crack sealing. It does extend the life of the pavement for 3 to 5 years. It's a pretty good action to take on your roads. The county share of this is around $64,000, and then Twinsburg Township, Lakemore, and Fairlawn will also be joining the program. We received 6 bids for this one, and Protect-A-Coat out of Cleveland was the lowest bidder.
Thank you. Any questions from members of council? I'm sorry, members of the committee? Council? May I have a motion? Ms. Darrow moved on 2026-112. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next up is 2026-113, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a professional design service agreement with Orchard Hiltz and McClement, doing business as OHM advisors for the design of the Killian Pickle Roundabout project located in Springfield Township in Council District 8 in an amount not to exceed $192,811 for the engineer and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is for the very beginning of preliminary engineering of the Killian Pickle Roundabout project. We have received about $1.75 million in construction funds, and I think, $240,000 in right-of-way funds. It is going to take a fair amount of right-of-way. It'll probably cost around $3.8 to $4 million to construct. So we're going to keep applying for more funding. But we do want to push this project forward. We don't want to lose that $1.7 million. And if we have the design on the shelf ready to go, it will be a more attractive project for construction grant funds later. We requested qualifications from 5 firms, and OHM was ranked the highest. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from members of the committee? Members of council? May I have a motion? Mr. Acott moved on 2026-113. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And last up, we have 2026-114, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a renewal, third and final, of a professional service contract with K.E. McCartney and Associates for design services related to the Surface Water Management District for a 1-year term for the period of 1/1/26 to 12/31/26 in an amount not to exceed $100,000 for the engineer and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is an annual task order contract for the Surface Water Management District. KEM has been very helpful in going through the ditch petition process with us, since that's relatively new to do so many ditch petition projects. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Any questions from members of the committee? Members of council? May I have a motion? Mr. Schmidt, would you move? Thank you. We have a motion from Mr. Schmidt on 2026-114. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will close Public Works at 4:48.
Planning and Economic Development will open at 4:48. 2026-120, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute a real estate purchase agreement with the Summit County Land Reutilization Corporation and any other necessary documents for the sale of a parcel of county real property, parcel number 0209872, located at 2525 State Road, Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, in Council District 2, for the amount of $480,000 for the purpose of returning said parcel to productive use for the executive and declaring an emergency. Mr. Nelson.
Yes, so this is the real estate purchase agreement we've previously discussed with the land bank. I think as you should have seen, we got the appraisal back last week. Appraisal came in actually higher than we had initially expected at $480,000, which is good news for the county for sure. It does put a little more pressure on the land bank in terms of marketing the property. I had several conversations with Patrick last week, and the purchase agreement you see in front of you is the result of that. So the land bank has agreed to purchase the property at the appraised value, $480,000. We have agreed to cover closing costs on the transaction. The county will provide the land bank, as originally contemplated, a 5% redeveloping service fee or $24,000. That 5% is essentially in line with commissions we would have paid a real estate broker to market the property. The land bank, along with the city of Cuyahoga Falls, who will assist, have an RFP put together that they will push out to solicit proposals from developers and any other interested parties who might wish to acquire the property with an eye towards developing the property to produce tax dollars essentially for the city, whether obviously property tax, but the city's obviously very interested in income tax and putting a business there that fits in that streetscape that exists and that they're going to be upgrading between Portage Crossing and the other state road businesses that are there. The land bank at closing will deposit in a segregated account $50,000 of the $480,000, net of the $24,000, and net of any closing costs that are paid on our behalf. The land bank will then, at each one-year anniversary for the next 4 years, be responsible for depositing an additional $100,000 into an escrow account to be held in the county's name for use on redevelopment activities that the land bank undertakes, that we would direct how those dollars are used. If the land bank were to sell the property in that 4-year period, the proceeds from that sale would then be used to deposit to hopefully satisfy all of that, for the remainder of that $480,000 obligation. If the land bank were to sell the property for more than $480,000, the county would receive a $25,000 share of the net proceeds from that sale above $480,000. With that, I am happy to answer any questions, and hopefully after 12 to 15 years of trying, we can finally ink a deal to sell 2525 State Road and put it back into productive use.
Any questions for Brian? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Wilhite on 2026-120. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
One abstention. The ayes have it. Thank you. Planning and Economic Development will close at 4:52.
Thank you.
Public Safety Committee will open at 4:52. We have one item, 2026-098, a resolution confirming the award of the Board of Control of a renewal of the Master Service Agreement, Needle Inc., doing business as Aurelian, to process non-emergency calls using an automated voice assistance for various Summit County public safety answering points for implementation in a one-year term for the period of 5/1/26 through 4/30/27 in an amount not to exceed $234,000 for the Executive's Department of Public Safety and declaring an emergency. And this was unanimously approved by this committee and passed on to council for a second reading. And then we had some questions that kind of came to light, and here we are. So, Lori.
Good evening, Lori Pesce, Executive's Office, Department of Public Safety. Thank you for the opportunity to provide some additional context about this system. Again, for historical purposes, we implemented this system a year ago. It answers non-emergency calls that come into the dispatch center. It answers calls for the SECC, which is our combined center, the City of Akron, Bath Township, bless you, and South Summit dispatch. So approximately 90% of the county is currently using the system. What it does is two things. It diverts these non-emergent calls to a system that is able to route them to where they need to go, records divisions. They are able to provide people with information about fireworks. They're able to provide police departments, they're able to notify them to go out and make a report if it's non-emergent. It also provides for dispatcher wellness because it takes those less critical calls off the table. They don't hear the constant ringing. They're able to manage the current calls that they have, the more emergent calls they have when the 911 calls come in. So we realize it's not a perfect system. The SECC staff has been working with our vendor over this last year. We meet with them weekly to talk about, to do QA on calls. So there have been specific issues that we have addressed through the system and made tweaks to handle that. We know that some other concerns were raised we'd like to talk more about those. So we have a meeting scheduled with the SARCOG board, the board that oversees our combined center, at the end of the month to talk about what their concerns are, what they're hearing from constituents. We have asked them, not just for this meeting, but previously, if you have specific issues, please let us know. We want the system to work for our constituents, so we want to develop the best product that we can to be most responsive. And so we will be working through some of those issues at that meeting at the end of the month. In addition, we also realize this is a great opportunity to do some community engagement, community outreach, and some education about when to call 911, what the non-emergency line is for, what it can do, and how to use it. We did find one of the issues that people got caught in a loop in is they talk to it like they're talking to a computer in sort of like one word, very short answers. And the system is actually set up to respond if you're talking to it as a person in full sentences. So, so we had to make some tweaks in order for it to better understand the communications coming in, but also talk about a script at the beginning. Please talk to me as if you're talking to a live person so I can understand what your issue is, or something like that. But we want to, again, we want to tweak the system so it works for our constituency and is responsive to those non-emergency calls.
Thanks. And yeah, I had a constituent that had reached out to me and got caught in one of those loops. So what we want to do is we want that information, right? So
yes.
We can look up that number and we can go back and see what the issue was so we can improve the system.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we want the feedback. Now I've also heard we don't like AI. We need to talk to a person. Well, you can talk to a live person, but they're also trying to answer 911 calls. So we're trying to balance that priority of answering 911 calls versus these non-emergent numbers. Now, if a dispatcher has to get back to you, there are instances where You may get a text message back from the system automatically generated. You may get a call back from a dispatcher. So they are reviewing those calls that go through the system.
I might just quickly, before I throw to questions from the committee, mention that the person that got stuck in the loop was very clear in saying once they were able to get through to a person, they were very satisfied at the way it was handled. So, and they wanted to be very clear about that. So,
Perfect.
any questions from the committee? Questions from council?
No, I just want to take the opportunity to thank Lori for taking time to talk with me regarding some of the concerns that had been addressed or had been brought to my attention, and for being willing to come up with solutions to try and make sure we're having the right conversations and that we're doing the right education, because what people don't know and how to use it really has caused some of them some concern or frustration with the system. And again, I think the big part that we came away with this is like specific examples of where the challenges are, so that the system, it learns as it goes along, so that we can make the system be more effective. So thank you very much for taking the time to do that and setting those meetings.
Sure. And if anybody wants a demo of the system, happy to do it. If anybody has community groups, meetings they want us to attend, to do trainings or a presentation, please let us know. Especially now, it also helps in that when to call 911, because if they're using the non-emergency line, well, maybe I don't know, like, err on the side of caution, call 911. That's what our recommendation, but happy to do some public demonstrations about how the system works.
And Lori, to be clear, this contract, the existing contract expires April 30th, correct?
It expires this month. We have a provision, most of our county contracts have them. We have a termination clause and we have an amendment clause. If we need to terminate, we just give 60 days notice. It's going to take us longer than 60 days to unravel this if the decision were to be we weren't using the system anymore.
And the COG board is scheduled to meet April 29th to have a public meeting to solicit whoever wants to come address this with them and have a discussion about their continued use. There are the city of Akron and other dispatch centers who use this. So in order so that we may proceed with whatever that contract looks like, it won't exceed this, possibly could be less, hopefully not, but we would ask council pass this out of committee. I don't know if they have to pass it out of committee. They kind of passed it out once, but at least we would ask council to pass this next week so that we're in a position once the COG board meets and decides that we can get the contract executed for whoever's using the system.
And Lori and I did talk about that, because I was the one that asked to go to second reading, and I'm very comfortable personally with us moving forward, understanding that we have options available. But again, the communication is key. Having the meetings, having the conversations, making sure that we're making this work both for our communities and for our constituents in a proper way.
Yeah, and we just had a COG board meeting last week, so all the mayors are aware of next week's meeting. So the COG board will address this and we'll move from there.
So it's not really a question and truly not a gotcha. You just happen to be here while this is a news issue and talking about AI. So I don't know if folks saw the news last week that Anthropic released a new frontier, didn't release it, tested a new frontier model called Claude Morpheus, which is like the most advanced coding that we've ever seen. And it's revealing massive security flaws in all these systems. And a bunch of folks competitors have come together to form this thing called Project Glasswing to kind of try to secure cyber infrastructure for the future. I would just ask and wonder if we are asking the right questions on a security front of all of our vendors. And what service is this hosted on? Is it an Amazon cloud? Do they have their own server? I don't even know what all the questions would be, and I don't want to slow this down, but it might be good for both Stephen Byrne to come back and brief council about what new questions and protocols we are taking up in light of all these new developments of how we're pressure testing all of our vendors for security, and then specifically for something like a 911 or an emergency phone number, knowing what all those things are going into it, especially since we have the opportunity to ask more questions. So,
sure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
John?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, we ask for feedback. I don't take it as complaining. If you have specific instances, we need to know what those are so we can make the system useful for everybody. So,
Right.
thank you.
And we've already moved this out of committee, so do we need a motion? We don't, okay. Let's put it back on the agenda for third reading. Okay, may I have a motion, please? John? Mr. Schmidt moved on 2026-098. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. That'll close Public Safety Committee at 5:05.
I'll open Health and Human Services Committee at 5:03. Resolution 2026-117, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a renewal, first of three, of professional services contracts between certain providers and the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services and the Summit and Medina Workforce Area Council of Governments to provide in-school and out-of-school youth employment and educational services under the Comprehensive Case Management and Employment Program for the period of July 1st, 26 through June 30th, 27, in a total amount not to exceed $2,265,000 for the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services and declaring an emergency.
Hi, good evening. Heather Yannion, the County Executive's Department of Job and Family Services. So this is a renewal of our contracts for our CCMEP, also known as our BOSS program, which is our case management and employment services program for the youth population 14 to 24, but primarily works with 16 to 24. For the current program year, which runs from July 25 to June of 26, so it's not completed yet, we've got 559 youth enrolled. We are currently achieving above the LEED standard for all performance measures, so these vendors are doing a good job hitting all the performance measures right now. We have both JOG and United Labor Agency. JOG concentrates mostly with in-school youth. We have JOG specialists for our BOSS program and all of the adult protective services, all the Akron Public Schools, high schools. We also have it in Barberton, Stowe, and Springfield, and then we also serve students in Cuyahoga Falls and Talmadge in this program. So the out-of-school youth, which is a lot of them are OWF participants that are young parents, and we reach them at the Ohio Means Job Center, and United Labor Agency is stationed at Summit Lake Reach Opportunity Center. I can take any questions.
So what type of marketing do you do to get kids engaged in the program?
So for our in-school youth, most of it is done within the school system because they work through guidance counselors, teachers, things like that, seeing kids that need those opportunities. Out-of-school youth is a little bit trickier. We work a lot with the YSS network and the out-of-school time network. JOG does some recruiting through websites. We get a lot of also referrals and leads through other agencies. We've, over the course of building the BOSS program, have been to everywhere from like the juvenile court system, all the other nonprofits in the area. So when they identify a youth that they think might be good for the service, they will refer them over, and then we will screen them, talk to that youth, see if it's something that they will benefit from and enroll. The thing about the BOSS program is it isn't a summer youth program 3 months and they're done, right? You enroll in the program, you're usually in it for 2 years, and it is a comprehensive program. So they have to commit to coming and working with the vendor, doing their homework. Many of them get paid work experiences through this, which they can earn up to $8,000 total through a CCMEP paid work experience. So we get a lot of good outcomes, but it's not a quick thing. So we want to make sure that because of the performance measures attached, this is between both TANF and WIOA. And so WIOA does have performance measures. So we make sure that the youth is a right fit, and then we enroll. For many years, we had a hard time getting our services and hitting our benchmarks, but now we've got a waiting list for the youth, and we're at capacity every year, and then when we determine how much our contracts are, it's based on our funding. So we're maxing out of all of our CCMEP funding, and many times we request additional grant funding from some of the other counties that are underspending. So I am proud to say that we have one of the more successful CCMEP programs in the state.
And how many students do you think you will employ the coming year?
For the summer youth program, so for the temporary summer youth program this year, we're doing 215. For this program, we will probably have about 300 of our BOSS students working over the summer, and their wages will be increased to $15 an hour for that summer program, so it matches the summer youth kids so that all the kids are getting paid the same.
Any questions from committee? Any questions from members of council? May I have a motion? I'll move. Motion from Councilwoman McKinney. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
2026118, a resolution declaring May 3rd through the 9th, 2026 as National Small Business Week in Summit County, encouraging the residents of Summit County to support Summit County small businesses for the executive and council, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you and good evening. I'm David Messner, Deputy Director with the Executive's Department of Community and Economic Development.
And I'm Caitlin Smith, also with the Executive's Department of Community and Economic Development.
And today we're proud to bring forward a resolution recognizing May 3rd through May 9th as National Small Business Week in Summit County. This resolution formally recognizes the critical role small businesses play in our local economy and community. It aligns with the Small Business Administration's National Celebration of Small Business Week and highlights the contributions of entrepreneurs across the country. The United States Small Business Administration estimates there are approximately 1 million small businesses within the state of Ohio, and Summit County is home to over 12,000 small businesses employing 100 or fewer individuals. Summit County and our partners with Elevate Greater Akron Initiative are committed to assisting small businesses throughout the county with our robust business retention and expansion and Spark Akron programs. Our department provides meaningful outreach to our local businesses and entrepreneurs. These meetings have proven invaluable as we work to connect these businesses to the services and supports available in our economic development ecosystem.
The Department of Community and Economic Development is proud to recognize and support new businesses across all 31 communities. As part of this effort, we present a welcome certificate to each new business to celebrate and encourage local entrepreneurship. So if a business is opening in your district, we would encourage you to notify our office so we can connect, extend a proper welcome, and ensure they are linked to the resources available in our ecosystem. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy. This resolution celebrates the innovation, resilience, and entrepreneurial spirit of small business owners who create jobs, drive economic growth, and contribute to the vitality of Summit County. We encourage all residents to support small businesses across Summit County. Please join us May 3rd through May 9th in recognizing and celebrating Small Business Week. We are happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from members of the committee? Members of council? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Councilman Wilhite. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council as a whole.
Council as a whole.
Thank you.
And I will close the Health and Human Services Committee at 5:11.
I'm sorry. 2026-102, a resolution providing for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $160 billion of bonds to the Akron Summit County Public Library District for the purpose of constructing, adding to, renovating, remodeling, refurnishing, equipping, and otherwise improving library buildings and facilities, and acquiring, clearing, and improving the sites thereof, and declaring an emergency. Committee questions?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I'll just say that one of these, thanks to Brian for helping to encourage a lot more information to flow between the library folks and council. And essentially, both Michelle and some members of the board will be back next Monday to walk us through a more detailed overview of their budget and their plan. But what it comes down to is the $160 million bond issuance at once will allow the board to put this money into an interest-bearing account that could yield up to another 10 to 15 million in interest proceeds to help offset additional costs. So barring anything comes up next week when we will hear from them again, I think we all feel comfortable moving this to third reading for the council meeting next Monday. Brian, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I would just add that, I had raised the question about arbitrage on those tax-exempt bonds. After talking with bond counsel and their financial advisors, they are issuing taxable bonds, actually. So those bonds can be exempted or can be invested without the need for doing the arbitrage calculations and potentially paying arbitrage. I did ask them to run a scenario, a what if, that with 4 $40 million issues out over the next 8 years of tax-exempt bonds, and I asked them to factor in a slight rate increase in each of the 4, because obviously we know the biggest risk of not just issuing now is what's going to happen with interest rates over the next 8 years. The net cost to the library, to the taxpayers of dollars that would not be available to be invested in projects, I think was about $11 million if we were to essentially force them to go that route versus issuing up front and investing the dollars. And if interest rates climbed, that situation would just get worse because they'd not just lose the investment earnings, they'd be paying out more on the interest on the bonds. The other thing that we talked to them about was responsible contractor, our ordinances that we have that pertains to projects, and so they were going to take a look at that and potentially, we'll see what they say next week, but they were going to talk to the board members about a responsible contractor policy for the board. So we should hear, they'll be back next week.
If no one else has questions, I'm happy to move, but also.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Walters moves on 2026-102. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and we'll close out finance at 5:17.